Well, how was John chapter 2? Pretty good? Was I right? Yeah. Now you come into John chapter 3. I'm sure you've been following along, but inside the notes section underneath the video, you'll find the text and the text of the scriptures. And you'll also find the printable file that you can print out. If you have a comment or question, feel free to ask it or email me if you'd rather. However you'd like to do it is fine. And that's not really important either. I kind of think there's a lot of people that, they wouldn't mind looking into the scriptures and seeing what it says, but it's, do I have to go to church to do it or that kind of thing? Well, this is kind of sidestepping that and just giving you the opportunity. I find it fascinating the different way that people come to know the Lord. In this chapter 3, you'll find a man named Nicodemus, and you'll find that he is a very religious person, a respected person, a moral person, but a lost person. And he comes and talks to Jesus, and Jesus said, you have to be born again. You may have heard that phrase. Well, this is where it comes from. In John chapter 3 is the main place where he says you have to be born again. He comes to him secretly. I was thinking about that. That's kind of what's going on. I'm not being demeaning or anything like that, but that's kind of what might be going on here, I hope, is, you've got curiosities and you want to see what the scriptures say, but I'm not too sure about church and that kind of thing. Well, Nicodemus set up a meeting with him at night so he could come secretly so nobody would know what was going on. So maybe we're doing something like that. I don't know. But you'll find in this chapter, and I told you I'd tell you when there's things that, people have different views about. You'll find anywhere through the scriptures, you'll find there are two basic views of salvation. One is faith, and the other is anything plus faith or faith plus anything, adding to faith or demanding works to go along with it. That is not the knife you want to cut yourself with. And faith is what saves somebody. Faith is what saves. And in this text, you'll find a place here where Jesus says you have to be born again. And I wrote it out in the lesson to kind of explain it. But what you're going to find is some people think that's referring to water baptism. And they'll think that water baptism is essential for salvation. You read through the Gospel of John and you're going to find that it's not essential for salvation. You count it up, there's close to 100 times that it says believe and have everlasting life. Believe and have everlasting life. When he talks about this, the notes explain it, so I'm not going to try myself. But a little tip in understanding the Bible, and maybe when people have different ideas, or maybe you have different ideas, is that take the whole counsel of the Bible. When somebody comes to you with a verse and it teaches something that's kind of quacky, to me, water baptism to wash away my sins is quacky. But people can teach it from the Bible. Let me explain. John 3 is where they go. Mark 16 is where they go. And Acts 2:38 is where they go. Those are the principle. There's just a few more where they can draw it out, but those would seem to say it clearly. Okay, so you got 3 places in the scripture where people say that it contradicts the 100 times in the Gospel of John that it says believe, 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 believe. Well, maybe, kind of like I explained it in the notes, we just misunderstood those 3 things there, didn't we? Those 3 other places. When you've got myriads of scripture and somebody brings along one that kind of just, and they're having to kind of twist it a little bit, if you ask me. Just take what the whole counsel of God says. I've got a little rule I'll share with you, and I'll let you go. I have a little philosophy, because a lot of people like to debate. They like to argue. And sometimes I like to talk to anybody that can talk logically and have an open mind. And I have an open mind and will consider anything somebody tells me. But I have a couple of rules. If what they tell me, if they can't understand John 3:16, they're not going to convince me on other things. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. If what they teach has to clash or clank or change around the world's most famous verse or the simplest representation of the gospel, I'm going to have some serious doubts when they start teaching me other things. But again, I like to. In today's world, everybody gets hot and heated and can't have a conversation. But I like to talk to anybody about the Bible, whether they hold my views about it or not. But look at John chapter 3, see what you think. And oops, I talked a little bit more than I was supposed to. We'll see you in John chapter 4.